You never really see the knife coming when it's in your back. I've been with Westbridge Logistics for nearly 7 years. That might not sound like much in the grand scheme of things, but in our industry, where burnout is common and loyalty is rare, that's practically a lifetime. I'd grown with the company, from a junior scheduler barely understanding time zones to a senior operations specialist managing over a dozen moving parts daily, all while putting out fires before they even sparked. I wasn't just good at my job, I was indispensable. Or so I thought. It all started on an overcast Monday. Rain tapped steadily on the office windows as I reviewed a shipment delay in Ohio. Cynthia, my manager, popped her head into my cubicle. "Daniel, got a minute? Can we chat in my office?" Her tone was casual, even friendly, and I didn't think much of it. I grabbed my coffee mug and followed her in. We sat across from each other, and she leaned forward, fingers laced. "We've got a new guy joining today, Sean Whitaker. He's fresh out of Stanford, operations focus, seems pretty sharp. I want you to train him." "Train him?" I asked, surprised. "Is he my assistant?" She smiled in that overly rehearsed way she had when delivering half-truths. "Not exactly. He'll be shadowing you. We want him to get hands-on experience with our internal systems. You're the best person to show him how we do things around here." I'll admit it, I was flattered. Of all the people she could have picked, she chose me. And at that point, I still believed it was because I was trusted, respected, valued. Then came Sean. He showed up wearing a tailored navy suit and a smile that could sell sand in the desert. Polished, confident, and somehow, a little too interested. We shook hands, and he gave me a firm grip. "Big fan of the company. Heard a lot about your work," he said. I laughed and replied, "Well, hopefully it lives up to the hype." From that day on, Sean shadowed me everywhere. He sat beside me during daily logistics meetings, watched how I tracked late shipments, asked questions about inventory dashboards, and studied the way I negotiated with warehouse leads when something went wrong. He was hungry. Not for knowledge, for something more. At first, I didn't mind. I liked mentoring. I'd done it before. Sean reminded me of myself at 25, eager, sharp, curious. He even brought me coffee a few times, asking questions like, "How do you handle vendor shortages in Q4? Why do you cross-check schedule changes against warehouse labor rosters manually? What's your backup protocol if 2 regional deliveries collide in the system?" At the time, I thought he was just thorough. I didn't realize he was learning to replace me step by step. I even built him a training document, 12 pages of shortcuts, escalation paths, and personal notes that took me years to figure out. He called it gold. And the worst part? I was proud to give it to him. 2 weeks into training Sean, I started to notice little shifts, subtle at first, but enough to raise an eyebrow. Cynthia stopped asking me for the morning briefings. That was usually my thing. I'd send her a crisp, bullet-pointed update at 9 a.m. sharp, summarizing delays, reroutes, and pending approvals. It was part of our rhythm. One day, I asked her if she needed the report, and she just said, "Oh, Sean already sent it over." He even included the Q3 projections. Nice touch, right? I blinked. Sean hadn't mentioned that. Not a word. And I hadn't taught him how to run projections yet. That night, I stayed late after hours. Not to catch up, not to show off, but because I was uneasy. I logged into our systems and checked the access logs. Sean had been poking around files far beyond the training scope, financial reports, client SLAs, route audits going back years. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe Cynthia had cleared him. Maybe he was just enthusiastic. The next morning, things got weirder. At our weekly team huddle, Cynthia clapped her hands together and said, "Let's give a round of applause to Sean. He found a gap in our South Dakota routing sequence and corrected a delay that would have cost us $3,000. Impressive initiative. The room clapped. Sean gave that humble but not really smile. You know the one. I stood there, feeling my stomach twist, not from jealousy, but confusion. That was my task. I'd been tracking that South Dakota reroute all week. I had flagged the issue in a draft email I hadn't sent yet. He must have seen it when we were reviewing my drafts. I told myself to calm down. Maybe it was just coincidence. But a part of me whispered. You're being sidelined. Then came the praise, constant, loud, public. Sean got invited to a regional strategy meeting. Just to observe, Cynthia claimed. I'd never been invited to one in 7 years. Then he started giving input during leadership calls. Not just minor observations, either. Strategic insights that had my fingerprints all over them. Things I had shared with him during our sessions, framed like fresh ideas from a bright new voice. It was like watching someone read your journal on stage while taking credit for every page. One afternoon, I found myself alone in the break room. Miguel from HR walked in. He's been with the company as long as I had. Good guy. Quiet, but observant. I asked him, casually, hey, is something going on? I feel like I'm being. I don't know, eased out. He didn't answer right away. Just sipped his coffee, looking uncomfortable. You didn't hear it from me, he muttered, but when Sean came in, there were already conversations about future restructuring. He emphasized the word restructuring like it had weight. My hands went cold. I stared at my coffee, heart pounding, trying to keep my voice steady. So what does that mean? They brought me in to train the guy who's taking my job. Miguel sighed. It's never that black and white, man. But I'd update your resume. That night, I sat in my car in the darkened parking lot, staring at the building I once felt proud to walk into. It hit me then, not like a slap, but like a slow sink into ice water. They'd already made the decision. Everything else was just performance. And the worst part? I was playing along, applauding my own exit without even knowing it. They always say you'll feel it coming, the layoff, the firing, the we need to talk moment. But I didn't feel it. Not until it was already slicing through me. It was Friday. The kind where the office buzz starts dying by lunch, where people casually joke about the weekend, and the Slack channels go quiet except for emojis. I was reorganizing delivery data for our Midwest routes when I saw a calendar ping. Meeting, Cynthia and HR, 2:30 p.m., conference room 3. No subject. No agenda. My stomach dropped. I walked over to Cynthia's office and tapped on her door. Hey, did we have something scheduled? She looked up with a look that tried too hard to be neutral. Yes, just a quick check-in. Nothing urgent. I knew that tone. I'd seen it before, on the faces of people I'd trained out the door. People who cried in the elevator, or disappeared after lunch with cardboard boxes and no goodbyes. At 2:30, I walked into conference room 3. Cynthia was already there. So was someone from HR, a woman I barely knew, clipboard in hand, awkward smile on her lips like she'd practiced it in a mirror. That smile only meant one thing, bad news delivered nicely. I sat down. Cynthia folded her hands on the table and spoke softly, as if that would soften the blow. Daniel, this isn't easy. You've been with Westbridge for 7 strong years. But due to operational restructuring, your current role is being phased out. Phased out. Those words clanged in my ears like a fire alarm. Sean will be assuming the consolidated version of your responsibilities, she continued. It's part of a leaner model the executive team is pursuing. You'll receive 4 weeks of severance and a glowing letter of recommendation, of course. I sat frozen, fingers clenched. They didn't even pretend this wasn't a setup. Wait, I said slowly, you mean the guy I trained, the guy I mentored for 6 weeks, is now taking my job? Cynthia looked down. HR shifted in her chair. We understand this might be difficult to hear, Daniel. It's a business decision. Please don't take it personally. I laughed. Not because anything was funny, but because what else could I do? I turned to Cynthia. Did you know this from the beginning? Silence. And that was the answer. I stood up. You could have told me. You could have at least had the decency to be honest. Cynthia said nothing. HR mumbled something about the exit process, but I wasn't listening anymore. My heartbeat roared in my ears. I walked out. And the strangest thing? No one stopped me. No one followed me. No one even looked up. I was invisible. I had been for weeks. I went back to my desk, packed up my things, half out of habit, half in shock. My desk had pictures. Notes I scribbled in frustration. A coffee mug that said, Logistics King. It all looked so foolishly loyal. As I reached for my laptop, I saw a sticky note Sean had left days earlier. Hey Daniel, can you show me again how to resolve sync errors between route batches? You're the best. Thanks again. My stomach twisted. You're the best. No, I was just the most useful, until I wasn't. I left the office carrying my box of things. No applause. No farewell cake. No one even asked where I was going. Just a light drizzle outside, the sky gray and indifferent, like the world didn't care that my life had just fallen apart. I sat in my car, staring at the dashboard. 7 years. All that time. All that effort. Gone with one meeting. And the worst part wasn't losing the job. It was realizing I had walked my own executioner to the gallows, and handed him the axe. The weekend after I was let go felt like a blur stitched together with silence. No alarm clock. No commute. No inbox full of routing issues and warehouse bottlenecks. For the first time in 7 years, my phone didn't vibrate every 20 minutes with a logistics update or a crisis tagged urgent. And instead of relief, all I felt was a massive hole where my purpose used to be. I didn't tell anyone right away. Not even my parents. I couldn't stand the pity. I just told them, taking a little time off. They congratulated me, said I deserved it. I smiled through the lie. My apartment felt different, too. I looked at the framed awards from Westbridge on my bookshelf. Team Excellence Award, 2019. Logistics Innovator of the Quarter, 2021. They looked meaningless now. Just glossy paper with my name printed under a logo that had just erased me like a typo. By Monday, I got a message on LinkedIn from Sean. Hey Daniel. Just wanted to say thank you again for everything you taught me. Couldn't have stepped into this new role without your mentorship. Let's definitely stay in touch. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just, cheerful betrayal, gift wrapped in fake gratitude. I didn't respond. I wanted to. I drafted something, deleted it. Wrote a longer one. Deleted that too. Because what could I say that wouldn't sound bitter, broken, or pathetic? The truth was, I wasn't angry at Sean. I was angry at myself. I had ignored the signs. The way Cynthia kept him closer each week. The way my responsibilities were chipped away, piece by piece. The way people stopped coming to me for answers. I'd trained my replacement, smiling all the way, because I believed I was safe. That belief was the real betrayal. By week 2, I started applying for new jobs. Operations roles, supply chain consultants, even warehouse coordinator positions. I rewrote my resume 5 times, trimming 7 years of experience into bullet points that sounded impressive but hollow. Some interviews came in. Most didn't. The ones that did had a familiar line. "You're clearly very capable, but we're looking for someone a bit more current with tech trends." Or, "Your leadership experience is great, but this role's more junior level." Translation: "You're too expensive, too experienced, and we'd rather hire someone we can mold." I thought about calling Cynthia. Thought about asking for a reference. But pride wouldn't let me. Instead, I fell into a cycle: wake up, stare at job boards, question my worth, go back to bed, repeat. One night, after yet another rejection email, I found myself scrolling through old photos on my phone. Pictures from our company retreat. A barbecue. Me and the team laughing around a fire pit. Sean was there too, grinning, holding a drink, his arms slung around my shoulder like we were best friends. I stared at that photo for a long time. Then I deleted it. I needed something to change. I couldn't keep living like a ghost in my own life. So I forced myself outside. Just a walk. Nothing more. I wandered downtown, past the same warehouse districts I used to monitor in spreadsheets. It hit me then, how small the world looked when you weren't in it, when you were just walking by instead of helping it function. That's when the idea first crept in. What if I built something for myself? Not another job. Not another system to plug into. But something of my own. I knew logistics. I knew where small companies bled money in shipping and distribution. I knew how to route smarter, cut time, reduce errors. I had taught these things for years. Hell, I just taught them to the guy who replaced me. What if I sold that? The idea didn't fix everything. It didn't erase the humiliation or the sleepless nights. But it gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks. Control. By the end of the month, I had a basic website up. Reyes Logistics Consulting, smart solutions for small businesses. No office. No employees. Just me, my laptop, and the knowledge that Westbridge couldn't take from me. My first client came from a Reddit thread, believe it or not. A small coffee distributor in need of route planning for rural deliveries. I offered them a free trial consult. They said I saved them $1,200 in fuel and 2 days in labor. They signed a 3-month retainer the same week. I sat in my apartment after that first payment cleared, only a few $100, but more than I had in weeks, and I felt something I hadn't felt since the day I got fired. Not success. But clarity. They took my job. But I still had my value. The first time I truly smiled after losing my job wasn't when I got paid. It wasn't when I signed my third client or even when I crossed my first $5,000 month. It was when I realized I no longer needed anyone's approval to prove I was good at what I do. Westbridge taught me many things, some I'm still unlearning. But the most painful lesson was also the most freeing: jobs don't define your worth. People can take titles, roles, even reputations. But they can't take your experience. Your insight. Your grit. A year after the day they let me go, I sat in a coffee shop across from a new client, a local artisan food brand expanding statewide. They'd heard of me through word of mouth. Not through Cynthia. Not through LinkedIn. Just through good, old-fashioned results. The owner asked me, "So, do you work alone?" I smiled. For now. But not for long. Because things were growing. Faster than I expected. I had a small network of freelancers I was training, not for a corporate ladder, but to help build something real. And this time, I wasn't showing them how to replace me. I was building a team that lifted together. I won't lie and say the bitterness disappeared overnight. Sometimes I still think about that day in the conference room. About the look on Cynthia's face when she said my role was being phased out. About the LinkedIn message from Sean, his clueless, hollow gratitude. Sometimes I wonder if he knows. Knows that I see his posts, corporate jargon mixed with self-congratulation. Knows that Westbridge is now struggling with delivery delays and turnover because they replaced systems thinking with surface polish. But I don't engage. I don't need to. Because I've already won. A few weeks ago, Miguel from HR reached out. Yes, that Miguel. He messaged me on LinkedIn. Hey Daniel, random question. Would you ever consider consulting for Westbridge? They're going through some chaos right now. They could use someone who knows the old systems. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't reply right away. Eventually, I typed. Thanks for the message, Miguel. But I'm booked solid right now. Maybe another time. Then I closed my laptop and walked outside into the sun. Not with resentment. Not with vengeance. But with peace. Because the man they tried to erase, he didn't just survive. He built something stronger. Slogan/story closer. They thought they were replacing me. But what they really did, was set me free. They took my seat at the table, so I built my own. I trained him to do my job. Then I taught myself to dream bigger.